What is Basepaint? Basepaint is a collaborative art piece on chain. You have hundreds of artists that come together. They place pixels on a canvas, all in accordance to a daily theme. And at the end of the day, you get to mint that. The next day, it's different. Initially, I thought base paint was important because it was a new idea on the base chain. It was one of the first things to come on to base chain. Um, I think those first couple of weeks, they set in motion something that none of the contributors or collectors had thought this could become. No one thought this would be still going, 2+ years on. How many things in this space go on that long and still have some sort of recognition, still have 100 or more people contributing to it and 100 or more collectors collecting it? I think somewhere in the middle, we'll say in the 200 to 300 day range, like things really started to come into scope that this was something bigger, this was evolving as it was going on. And it went from being this, you contribute pixels, you get some percentage of the proceeds from the minters, and it turned into this, we're collaborating to make this art piece. And that, from a collector perspective, it really just started to vibe, because you could see where people were starting to come together. They were organizing to make these bigger pieces on the canvas. They were organizing to make pieces that would actually, if you turned it into a GIF, would animate. And after we finished the first year and they blew up the canvas size from being 144 by 144 to 256 by 256, it changed the whole dynamic that people were having, because there was more space. You could now focus on, like, I'm going to put this piece together and they're going to put that piece together. And you could watch that as a collaborator happening over time. And it was just really neat to see. And I think now that we're in the 2 year mark, you see it happening even more. Like, you can see the trend. Like, sure, the contributors have dropped off somewhat, but the talent that's going into it, the amount of colors that people are able to use, you're getting a lot more types of shading, you're getting a lot more, like, dynamic pieces in that canvas. And I think that's really where base paint has come into its own. Yeah. So the canvas size change happened just at the first year anniversary. So it was just the tail end of that 300. Um, and that was after we started to see a drop off of contributors. So the drop off of contributors happened in the, like, 200 to 250 range. We went from having 600 contributors on a canvas, and I think now we're down into, like, the 100, 150 range. And even though we had that drop off in contributors, that expanded canvas size and the expanded color palette that they were having, it just allowed people to develop so much richer in the feeling of what's coming out of the canvas. I think it really comes down to the people. So, I mean, way back in the beginning of it all, it did kind of seem like a hodgepodge of individual images, people fighting for space. And then it slowly morphed into, okay, we have these moderators that are sitting in the chat, kind of guiding people, saying, hey, so-and-so worked on this. Please don't overwrite that. Or, here's the vague idea of what the theme's going to be. And then as time went on and you had more people contributing themes and having that theme voted on, there started to be this soft guidance. Here's kind of what I'm imagining, and then letting all the other contributors say, okay, we'll take that soft guidance and be like, yeah, that sounds good. Now let's make it better. Yeah. So, I mean, my background's in finance. My entry into crypto is probably, familiar to a lot of people during the pandemic, just looking for things to get involved in. And I got involved with a DeFi protocol, Pull Together. And through Pull Together, there was a lot of interesting ideas of bringing NFTs into that system. So it was kind of like you deposit, you every the to collect the yield, and then that yield is awarded to one or more people that deposited. So now you're not getting yield every day. But there was incentives in there to bring NFTs in. So if you didn't get yield, you could get an NFT, or during the holidays there was an NFT thing through there, and that kind of opened my mind up to, well, what's going on in this art space. As time progressed and I explored that more, I fell into a couple of NFT things. I mean, none of them are really well known now, but then one thing leads to another. You're in Farcaster, and I want to say it was either Laminar Rainbow or Andre that pointed me to Basepaint. It was in like day 43, day 44, somewhere in there. And I'm like, this is cool. Like, this is a whole different way of looking at it. The NFTs beforehand, it was very much like a singular thing, and there were a couple of experiments where we're trying to plant trees, or trying to donate for a cause. And this kind of turns that around, and we're not necessarily collectively donating to a cause, but we're just kind of giving back to the people that are contributing. And I think that kind of speaks to like the ethos that I was looking for through crypto, and that's how I got involved with Pool Together, because it was more of this ethos of giving back to the people involved. And then I saw that in NFT space. I'm like, this is great. This is exactly what I like to see, and that's something that I wanted to support. So I just kind of followed that trajectory. No, no, I mean I know how to program loosely, we'll say, but I don't know the first thing about programming on chain and using Solidity or anything like that. Like the most I know how to do is basically just rate base scan or ether scan. I've dabbled with some Dune dashboards, and I made some of those to kind of track the things I thought were interesting for Basepaint 2 years ago. And I mean, they're still coming along for me, but I think it's just the things that I'm intrigued in. How many people have full sets? You know, right now it's 9. When I started tracking it 2 years ago, it was 18 to 20. So I mean, the full set holders, that's decreased pretty substantially in 2 years. And I mean, there's other like things that I thought were interesting. What days have the most unique holders? Lens Day back in day 44 that has over 2,000 unique holders. That's the highest. So I'm like, it's just interesting things like that I'm like, well, I'll learn a little bit of Dune and try to put that together. Yeah, yeah. I never released them because, I mean, it's messy code. I'm embarrassed by it. So like, it's just something I have for me to look at. I mean, I'll place pixels here and there. That's it. Like I'm not going to go through and try and create something on the canvas. I'll just be one of the guys in the background. It's like, okay, we're doing this pattern. I'll put them out there. Because I've contributed relatively consistently. I've had my paintbrush upgrade twice, so I can do 400 pixels now. But I'm no pixel artist, and I'm no artist in any other way, shape, or form either. Yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm frequently watching the canvas. I just kind of have it running in the background most days while I'm working, just to see what's going on. I'll jump in the chat every now and again. I've had a few themes voted on that have made it to actually be a full canvas. So it's fun, just kind of see and be a part of that evolution. Yeah, yeah. So um, I think the reason behind why I come back and collect. Um, I do genuinely enjoy some of the art. Some days are off. I'll be honest. Some of them I just don't fully understand. But other days, it's just a magical thing to see come together, because you see that theme and you're just like, what is going to happen with this? And then it pops out at the end of the day, and you're like, that's really, really awesome. And watching the chat go by and having that kind of history that you've seen of the canvas developing, like that's why I'm collecting them. I think it's really interesting. Like it's not just that people are out there putting like, I have this idea, I'm putting that idea on the canvas and see if it makes it to the end of the day. There's this conversation that goes on back and forth. Here's a rendering of what I want to put out there. Where do you think it fits? And sometimes it's a couple of people coming in and putting their opinions out there and seeing how it lands. Sometimes people will come in and modify things here and there from that rendering. And sometimes, like, if they see me or some other collector out in the chat, they'll just be like, "What do you think?" And like, it's just rewarding to be more involved in that aspect. Like, there's this community that just kind of evolved over time. Like I said, the first, we'll call it 30 days. Like, you look at the canvases, and there is this mismatch of like different images all over the place. And other times, it looks like it came together cohesively. And I think I want to say it's like day 56 or something like that. It's Song a Day Man, when he was actively singing what was going on the canvas. Like, that really flipped something for the community, I think, because there was this feedback loop. I did a thing, he said it, he provided this active feedback on how it could improve. And I think everybody just started to run with that. Like, okay, we might not have someone actively singing, we don't have this active video feed, but we do have this running chat that you can go through. And people can go through that chat and say, okay, well, we can move this that way, we can do this or that, the other thing. And it really started to come together from that point on. This is how we collaborate. This is how we make something that was interesting from an on-chain perspective into something that's really cool from an artistic perspective. Sure. Yeah. So I mean, as like a full set holder of Basepaint, so we're at day 861, having that full set, I feel like throughout those 2.5 years, I've been able to be a part of that community. There's this community that's evolved over time from day one all the way through to day 861. And sure, I came in somewhere in day 40 and I had to buy back, those first 40 days. But coming in at day 40, I've been able to be part of that community, have themes that have made it to the canvas, and be able to contribute pixels here and there. And it just kind of has like it has a different vibe to the whole NFT thing. Like, it is more of a community driven philosophy. I think people buy digital art for the same reason that they buy non-digital art, physical art. It speaks to them on a fundamental level. There's something in it that they see, and it reaches out to them and says whatever it needs to say to them to make them feel whatever they're feeling. And Basepaint being a day-to-day, iterative, community-driven piece of art, when you're out there and you're watching the jack go by, or you're out there and you're placing pixels here and there, you're collecting because you feel like you're part of something. And that something is the community, that something is the piece of art. Like, my first theme was this random dinosaur lasers and borscht. It was just this nonsense string that I saw on Farcaster, and I thought it was hilarious. So I put it out there, and it became a daily theme. And like, I'm part of that. I'm part of the Basepaint history because of that. And that's what makes it special. That's what makes you want to collect, is that you're becoming part of it as it's evolving. I mean, Lotus, yeah, they're I think one of the top 10 theme proposers. So I think they're finding value of being part of that history the same way that I am. And I know, having seen them in the chat, among many others, like, that chat and being able to not only just talk about the art, because it becomes something a bit more now that the contributors are a little more condensed, let's say, and there's more people that are regularly out there, and you're getting used to seeing their names, and you're getting used to seeing the cursors out there, and you do your little cursor tornadoes around one another when you see each other out there. It becomes not just a piece of art, It becomes that community. It becomes friends, and like you were saying, it's friends around the world. It's friends in Brazil. It's friends in Italy. It's a global thing, and then you didn't have a way to connect with these people before. Yeah, yeah. So every 100 days, I think it was for the first 400 or 500 days. On that 100th day, there'd be a special mint, and some of those got turned into cursors. So you can go out there and like I'm a bug cursor, but you can see other people. They're like a basketball or they're like a windmill or something like that, and you'll recognize them. And then when you're out there and you're going to place your pixelers, their cursor will show up near yours or you'll go near theirs, and you just kind of swirl around for a minute. The same thing happens at the beginning of a new canvas. Like everyone that's there for the new canvas, you're just kind of going crazy, swirling your cursors around one another until the full reset happens and you can paint again. Sure. I mean, that's kind of where I started. I mean, I started as being on that side of, maybe this is going to make me a lot of money in the future. I was tracking, what day has the least amount of holders. And back when it was a smaller canvas, I want to say it was Greek mythology. I think it had like 155 holders or something like that. And that was the smallest amount of holders. And at the time, that's kind of what a price driver was. So at one point in time, it was almost worth a half each for one canvas. And there was a moment where I'm like, okay, this could actually be the thing that makes a bit of money for me. And then as time went on and it shifted from something that was speculative, that a lot of people were speculating on, because there were, upwards of 600 contributors at one point in time. And they were just kind of placing pixels wherever, trying to get that 90% proceed, then sell a canvas. There was a lot of this. Someone buys a canvas, and then they sell a canvas very quick, looking to see if they can make that quick buck. But when that culture shift happened, and it became something less than, it became something more than speculative, I guess you would say, where it's not, you're not looking to make a quick buck. You're looking to genuinely support the artists that you've become friends with, the artists that you have watched their skills evolve over time. And some of them, yeah, they do have a background in pixel art. Some of them just have a background in art. Some of them don't have a background in any of it. And you've got to watch them, all of them grow. And it comes down to, at that point, like, it's not a speculative play anymore. It's just I'm supporting the people that I enjoy watching doing something they love. And I hadn't realized that some of them were making a full living off of that. That's awesome. That's phenomenal. Like that just makes me so happy that, like, my contribution to that, like they're able to live off of that. That's magical. That's awesome. Yeah. So this is the Basepaint ugly sweater. It's day 496, somewhere in there. The canvas was to basically make an ugly sweater that's Basepaint paint. So it has the Basepaint logo on the snowman. It's got the full Basepaint logo there. So like, once they had that ugly sweater canvas made, I can't remember who started the initiative, but they made just a quick page. I think Zach was involved in it, where you could get a green sweater, a blue sweater, or a red sweater. And it was just one of those things, like, you make the canvas, you help contribute to the canvas. Now you get to have a physical piece of it that you can wear around on the holidays. Oh, yeah, I've heard it. I don't know. I mean, I guess I could see it happening. I don't see why it needs to happen. Like there is still a solid 100 contributors, and then there's another 20 to 80 that pop in from time to time. On the minter front, it is like the minters are waning. I will say that you're getting less and less minters. I think one of the recent days, I want to say it's the one for Halloween, it only had like 88 minters. Like you're definitely seeing a decrease in mints as time goes on. Um, but the community's still there. People are still coming. They're still talking in the chat. They're still painting those pixels. Um, so, I mean, I could understand on one hand why it would stop at day 1000. On another hand, I don't know why it needs to. Like, it's the code's already there. Like, if for it to stop, everybody just has to stop coming. No, I don't think so. Unfortunately, I think there will come a point in time where um, there isn't enough people that are going to stay consistent, or it'll just be a handful of pixel artists that kind of just own the canvas, and not out of any malicious intent. Just there isn't enough smaller painters to come by. I don't think it'll be day 1000. Might be day 3000 or something like that. But I have thought about that. I think currently they're trending in the right direction. So we have less contributors, but we do have expanding canvas sizes. Not canvas sizes, color palettes. So if you just cut the days in half, so you have 430 on one side and 430 on the other, the first 430 days have an average of 5 colors per day. The latter half has 9. So like there's this loose trend, but a trend that there's going to be more colors. And I think that gives the artist a bit more meat to chew on, and in terms of developing the art, it gives you more shading that you can do into it. It gives you more dynamics that you can go into. I think in terms of a future state, it is just a collaborative effort. I'm not sure how fully it would work, but there's been teases of animation. The problem right now with the animations is they take a lot of pixels to put together, and it takes a lot of collaboration to put together. I don't know what the mechanic would be to help that along. If it is just like special days or an animation day and your pixel count triples or something like that, so you just have the bandwidth to do a larger scrolling animation or something on the canvas. But I think that would be a really interesting thing to bring into the fold without having to, expand the canvas size and make it more convoluted, or, give it a million different colors or something like that. There's been collaborations with some of the larger and mid-sized pixel holders to animate pieces of a canvas. So in one of the canvases, there's a dog that runs along the bottom chasing a car, and it uses a lot of pixels. I think the artists, as well as some of the collectors, would like to see more of that, because there is a way to mint a canvas so you have it fully animated. You burn 2 canvases, you get an animated canvas. And I think that's like with Song of Dayman, kind of flicking the switch in terms of how the community should collaborate and work together to make a bigger piece. I think these smaller animations that we're starting to see, or we're seeing more of, is that switch slowly starting to turn on. And it's just up to the development team in terms of how can we support that without tipping the scales in such a way that the smaller brush holders feel like they're not being appreciated. I think the things that are the most interesting about Basepaint, other than the canvases themselves, are the little pieces of community that fall into making their own thing. And what I mean by that is Backseats made a subscription service before Basepaint had their own subscription service, so you could actually have the canvases minted on your behalf and sent to your wallet. I don't recall who the developer was, but they made the completer website, which let you know, like, here's the canvases you're missing. You are a full headset holder. If you wanted to, you could click on the little icon that they had, which was a Basepaint mech suit guy. And it would give you the full canvases. And it would just be like, you could just see every canvas, just all on one page. You could just endlessly scroll. I think those are the things that people are discounting. They're not recalling or not taking into account when it comes to base paint. There is this background builder thing happening with it, and it happens slowly, but it is happening. Yeah, yeah. I think there's still energy there for it. I think there's still people that are looking at base paint and trying to find different ways to build things around it.